All right, for the last part of the male reproductive system, we'll touch on puberty, hormonal control, and climacteric. The reproductive system gets to be dormant for several years after birth. In some, 10 to 12 years in boys, 8 to 10 in some girls. Then suddenly the pituitary hormones pick up and increases, awakening the system. Puberty is the first few years of adolescence until the first menstrual period in men and in girls rather, and first ejaculation of boys. Adolescence is a period from onset of gonadotropin hormone secretion and a development until such a time when adult height is at its fullest. A testis has been secreting testosterone in the first trimester. Remember, giving way to producing the development of the male reproductive because of the testosterone effect. Then it becomes dormant, right? It becomes dormant at time birth and becomes active again when puberty comes around. From here, hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and gonad influence plays a big deal, a large amount of influence on the further development of this system. As the hypothalamus matures, it will produce GnRH. GnRH is gonadotropin releasing hormone. This is produced by the hypothalamus. Its target organ is the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland then releases FSH-LH. FSH is follicle stimulating hormone, and LH is luteinizing hormone. Now, the FSH will stimulate the nerve cells to, in essence, produce more um, spermatogenesis, because if you have spermatogenesis, you will increase the number of sperms. So while that is taken care of by FSH, LH takes care of stimulating the interstitial cells to produce testosterone. All right, so this happens, and at puberty, where there's growth of sex organs, testosterone stimulates and influences the body growth, right? Muscle mass, limbs, larynx changes, red blood cells increases, metabolic rate increases, appetite increases, facial and hair development, and sperm production and libido. Now, all this is going congruent with the production of the testosterone and sperm cells. Into adulthood, testosterone sustains a male reproductive sperm production and libido. Inhibin from nerve cells suppresses FSH output, reducing sperm production if it's reach about the right level without affecting testosterone. So in the axis, it goes like this. The hypothalamus will secrete GnRH, gonadotropin releasing hormone, which will stimulate the anterior pituitary gland to release FSH, stimulating the seminiferous tubules to produce sperm cells, while LH, the target organ, are the interstitial cells of Leydig, which then helps produce testosterone. Now, testosterone fulfills the needs of the body, and in fact, it will keep on being produced. If it goes slow, then you will momentarily slow down, but otherwise, it just keeps on producing the right amount of testosterone. Meanwhile, if you have enough sperm cells produced, there might be the release of inhibin. Inhibin will slow down FSH, not LH, because we need the testosterone on a regular basis. So it may slow down FSH until a time when it's needed again. Testosterone, let me put that right here, may slow down as we increase in age. From peak secretion of 7 milligrams per day, it may be one-fifth of that by the age of 80. And a lot of physical changes can happen to the male patient, from muscle mass decline to increase in weight to decrease in the development or maintenance of the male reproductive. However, at the age of 80, some male individuals can still father a child, but there's still the production of sperm cells. In fact, in some cultures, it is common to see a young bride and an elderly female, right? Which is an acceptable situation in some cultures. Andropause is the male climacteric, female is menopause. Now, this is a period declining reproductive function, probably in the 50s, sperm count declines, but again, like we said, can still be active or has the potential to still father a child. Now, some of the age-related drop in testosterone may happen, and inhibin triggers a rise in FSH-LH. Now, men do not notice this, but they can have some hot flashes, some changes in their physical well-being and feeling. ED is erectile dysfunction, inability to produce or maintain an erection that's needed for coitus. Sometimes it's also a vascular situation. Now, the next topic touches on sperm and semen or seminal fluid, and we'll try to touch on all the aspects of this, plus spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis is the production of sperm in the seminiferous tubules. We have to have a divide and remodel the large germ cells and then create mobile sperm cells with flagella. This is also the time when the chromosomes, 6 of it, have to be reduced by half, 23, which the sperm cell will carry. There will also be the shuffling of genes, which is needed to ensure a more effective genetic variation. Mitosis is the first part of the usual cycle, but in sex cells, we have meiosis. It recombines the genes and reduces the chromosome number while producing 4 daughter cells that will eventually lead to the sperm itself. You can see this in your book, which shows meiosis, the first division, and meiosis 2, the second division, which eventually leads to 4 daughter cells, which is basically what's happened at the end of that process. You will have mitosis and meiosis happening, and like we said, in meiosis, male and female gametes would have genetic materials combine and produce a final output. Meiosis has 2 cell divisions, and from this you will end up with 4 stages. We have the same prophase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1, and telophase 1. At this point, the DNA has been doubled. Crossing over also happens, um, which is a new combination of genes. After meiosis 1, each cell has 23 chromosomes, but each chromosome is double-stranded. Meiosis 2, prophase 2, metaphase 2, anaphase 2, and telophase follows through. They're pretty much like mitosis. At the end, you now have 23 single-stranded chromosome. So from the peripheral area, and let's zoom on this picture here, from the peripheral area, you will have the type A and type B spermatogonium. Type A usually stays behind, so we have a stem cell there. And then type B is the one that eventually develop into the primary oocyte, which after meiosis 1 will become secondary spermatocyte. After further development, as meiosis 2 comes around, this will become your spermatids. The spermatids will be the next generation sperm are ready to go. You can see that it goes from the peripheral all the way to the lumen, the inside opening of the seminiferous tubules. At this point, you have mature sperm cells, complete with the head and tail, and are already mobile. Primordial cells form in the yolk sac of the embryo and helps to colonize the gonadal ridges. Puberty also brings spermatogenesis, which is the beginning of production of sperm cell. And like I said, one daughter cell stays behind this type A spermatogonium. The other stays and becomes the developing sperm cell. The primary spermatocyte undergoes meiosis 1, which results in 2 equal-sized haploid. Then at the end, the spermatogenesis becomes with spermatids going through a differentiation process into a spermatozoa. When a primary spermatocyte undergoes meiosis, it genetically is different and needs to be protected from the immune system. So that's why we have the blood-testis barrier closing behind it. A new tight junction will close where it came from, so we don't let the immune system get into the seminiferous tubules. The sperm cells will be produced from the beginning cell, which is just like any other cell. It has Golgi complex, nucleus, flagellum. Then it develops into more appropriate mature levels until finally it will have the mature sperm where you have the head and the tail, head and tail only. There's almost no specific body. So it's head and tail. The head has the acrosome where the 23 chromosomes are contained. And then the tail has your mid piece and your actual rest of the tail of the sperm. There's a lot of mitochondria. It needs a lot of effort and strength all the way to the difficult travel to meet the egg. From this, the nucleus will contain a haploid set of chromosomes, and the tail will have a lot of mitochondria in order to power its actions. Now, the principal piece is an axoneme surrounded by sheets of supporting fibers. This flagellum will be its source of locomotion or movement throughout the whole journey. This is a typical sperm cell, right? You have the acrosome, a nucleus, the basal body itself, the mitochondria, and acronym. So this is the actual sperm cell. This is a artist rendition of it. It is the head and the tail, where the tail has the mid piece, which is had a lot of mitochondria. Now, this sperm will be in a liquid base, which is a semen. This is expelled during orgasm by about about a teaspoon of this, which has 60% seminal fluid, 30% prostatic fluid, and 10% containing the sperm and spermatic duct secretions. Normal sperm count should be about 50 to 100 million. So this is looked into the microscope. This is sampled from, if you have a pair who wants to have a child, we examine the female, we also examine the male, and we get a sample of the seminal fluid. If we see inside sperm cells that have uh, weak movement, almost like couch potatoes, then it's not going to happen. They have to be really, really viable and really, really active. The numbers should not even go below 50 million. If there's only 20 million, you think that's good enough? That gives you a low chance because many of them will not make it all the way to the fallopian tube. At least 50 to 120 million per ml. And remember, we have at least 2 to 5 ml. So there's a lot, huh? Now, like I said, the sperm cells can either carry an X or a Y, and whoever ends up with the egg will determine the sex of the uh, offspring. Now, for the seminal fluid, remember that the prostate produces a thin, milky white fluid, has calcium, citrate, and phosphate ions, also has a cladding enzyme. This is high in hydrolyzing enzyme, which is specific for that secretion. It also gives you that alkaline level. The seminal vesicle contains yellow fluid, has fructose, which is important for the sperm cells as well, carbohydrates, prostaglandins, and protein called proseminogelin. The stickiness of the semen promotes fertilization. Clotting enzyme from prostate activates proseminogelin and also converts it to a sticky fibrin-like protein, which is the seminogelin. It entangles the sperm, sticks to the inner wall of the vaginal area and cervix, and helps the semen to not drain back into the vaginal canal. Now, uptake is promoted from this into the uterus. It's about 20 to 30 minutes. The serum protease from the prostatic fluid breaks down seminogelin and liquefies the semen. This process will take for the sperm to get into the uterus. You know, there's a cervical mucus plug, which is hard to penetrate. But this will make it to meet the egg at the distal third of the fallopian tube in about 10 to 15 minutes. So you see, that's really fast. That's really fast. 10 to 15 minutes, climb up all the factors against it, the temperature, the acidity, the white blood cells, you know, and sometimes even anti-gravity if the female has already been walking and moving around. But for this, if you have elevated pH and an energy source, then there's a good high chance for sperm motility to last. That's why the prostate produces a fluid that reduces the pH from 3.5 to 7.5. Also, we provide fructose and other sugars for the mitochondria to produce ATP. It's going to have a lot of need and a lot of ATP to keep on moving the flagellum. Now, they will all climb up and try to get to the uterus, and when getting there, hopefully they'll go to the right side, the side where there's an egg. Now, from here, you will end up seeing the egg and the sperm unite, and the sperm will deliver its 23 chromosomes. The egg will also deliver its 23 chromosomes. You will now create again the pairs, 23 pairs or 46 chromosomes. And like I said, the 23rd is the X and X, which makes the offspring a female, and X and Y, which makes the offspring a male. Pollution also can affect, there's many factors that affect the productive success. There's EDC, endocrine disrupting chemicals, which is found in many things that we associate with, use with, or are involved with. There's also factors coming from food, water, air, soil, and other environmental items that we use that can affect reproductive capabilities. Some of them may be coming in the generation that's within that us right now, and then the one next us. Some of them skip generations also. So it would take a lot more studies to finally uh, clearly show the link between disorder and a reproductive disorder, right? But that would be very interesting, and in the near future to find out, so we would know what could be effective and what would be ways to prevent the disruptors or ones that affect the reproductive system of the male and the female. That ends the chapter on 27, which is the male reproductive system. Let me go ahead and throw some good questions to review you. Well, first of all, the paramesonephric duct, is that male or female? Male or female? It is female paramesonephric duct, all right? Number two, the seminiferous tubules is stimulated by LH or FSH. LH or FSH, it is by seminiferous tubules, FSH, right? And your interstitial cells are stimulated by LH. FSH and LH, do they come from the hypothalamus or the pituitary gland? Hypothalamus or pituitary gland, they come from the pituitary gland, right? Okay. And the seminiferous tubules, once stimulated by the FSH, will produce testosterone or sperm cells. Testosterone or sperm cells, it will produce sperm cells, right? What is the hormone that stops FSH production? That's a quick, direct fill in the blanks. It is called inhibin. Inhibin. There you go. Now, uh, the male reproductive system, true or false? The male reproductive system is more internal in anatomical makeup, more internal. This is, of course, false. The male reproductive system is more external. What is the procedure so you can prevent sperms from making it out through the urethra and to the female? All right, it is vasectomy. All right. Okay, if I am with the sperms and we're flowing, okay, and we are in the epididymis, where will we be next? If we are in the epididymis, where will we be next? All right, is it the ejaculatory duct? Is it the seminiferous tubules, reti testes, or vas deferens? Ejaculatory duct, seminiferous tubules, reti testes, or vas deferens. Where will we be next? From the epididymis, it is vas deferens. Okay. Which of the glands, prostate, seminal vesicle, and bulbourethral gland, produces fructose? All right, that would be your seminal vesicle. Okay, same choices. All right, prostate, seminal vesicle, bulbourethral gland. Which one produce a mucus or slippery fluid? All right, bulbourethral gland or the bug, BUG. Right, same questions. Which one produces a prostate-like fluid? Prostate-like fluid. Wait a minute. That's what I'm alkaline-like fluid. Okay, the answer is prostate. Yeah. All right. Which one produces 30% of the seminal fluid? Same choices: prostate gland, seminal vesicle, or bulbourethral gland. It is all right. Prostate gland. All right. Which one is two bodies? Corpus spongiosum or corpus cavernosum? Spongiosum or cavernosum, two bodies, it is cavernosum, right? Now, which one is found more dorsally? Is it spongiosum or cavernosum? Spongiosum or cavernosum, it is dorsally, it is your cavernosum, right? Now, which one has the urethra? Cavernosum or spongiosis? Right? Which one has the urethra? It is the spongiosum. Right. Okay. What is the term that means condition of undescended testes? All right. It is cryptorchidism. Cryptorchidism. All right. Very good. Now, which one is more superficial? Dartos muscle or cremaster muscle? Dartos or cremaster? It is superficial is dartos muscle. Which one is related to the subcutaneous layer? Cremaster muscle or dartos muscle? Cremaster muscle or dartos muscle? It is dartos muscle. Right. There you go, huh? All right. Last question. What is the test and to confirm prostate cancer? It is the all right. This is the PSA, protein specific antigen. What is the procedure done clinically to examine the prostate? It is DRE, digital rectal exam, right? Rectal exam. Okay. Now, last question. Which one will produce a female offspring? Uh, Sex chromosome XY or sex chromosomes XX? The female offspring, right? Therefore, it will be XX. So the very last question. Who has the Y chromosome? The egg cell or the sperm cell? Egg cell or sperm cell? It is the sperm cell. All right. There you go. That ends our chapter. And tomorrow will be the last chapter, which is uh, the endocrine system, chapter 17. Thank you so much.